Hey everyone, we're live. Right. Just a quick apology first of all, because as you see in the title of the video, I'm supposed to be having a guest. Unfortunately, Dominic's doesn't seem to be available. Really disappointed, but I'm sure there's something sort of cropped up. So these things happen, and rather than I don't have really time to change the thumbnail going live. But yeah, so I just want to sort of put it out there. But listen, we're going to dive straight into it, and it's going to be another sort of chat with me, talking about the markets, talking about where we're at with Bitcoin, the crypto market, and all the rest. So it's a talk crypto just with me. New show, still trying to figure out format, whether we're going to do interview styles or whether we're going to do sort of more vlogging styles. I personally like the interview styles, but let me know what you think. Put it in the comments. Let me know. And I'll sort of share my opinion and views as we grow this channel and when I am doing the vlogging direct to you guys. But I really would love to get some great guests on board to dive into the nitty gritty specifics, dive into the weeds of projects, and more philosophical sides of Bitcoin, as well as the monetary side. So yeah, really excited to sort of dive into that, and it's certainly a learning journey, and for me as much as it hopefully will be for you, and hopefully you can join me on that journey as we dig into Bitcoin, the monetary system, and everything else. But let's dive into the news. What I'd like to sort of first bring up is a little story from Coinbase. So headline being Coinbase, overwhelming majority of terror-related funding still funneled via traditional financial systems. I think this is quite an important story because one of the oldest and one of the oldest ways that has always been used to throw mud at Bitcoin has been the anonymity side of things, that it's all, only drug dealers use it, only terrorists use sort of Bitcoin, because it's, the initial impression from the uneducated is that it can't be traced. Dominic, I think Dominic's joining me. Let's just see if he is. Hang on. Dominic, how you doing?
Very well, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Not very well, unfortunately. I can hear you just about, but not very well.
Let me try and do some settings.
That's all right. Well, I'm really excited to have you join me. I thought, I know what it's like sometimes with life and all the rest of it, and it's it can get lots to juggle and all the rest of it. But so I went ahead, went live, just saying to the audience, just diving into the story. But I'm really chuffed that you could join me. So that's brilliant. Thank you.
No problem.
I can hear you perfectly.
Is that working? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, absolutely
Good
perfect.
stuff.
Yeah, fantastic. That's brilliant. I like your studio setup there.
Thank you.
So, Dominic, I was just quickly just diving into some headlines, and maybe if we can get your take on it, that'd be really interesting. I'll just pick a few headlines from today, and depending on how you're doing for time, it'd be really good to get into discussion about some bigger topics, Bitcoin, CBDCs. You've recently done an awesome video and song about CBDCs, and and maybe how that sort of fits in with the bigger picture of freedom, Brexit, and things like that. So, how you set for time today?
Sure. I've got like half an hour, so let's dive straight in.
Perfect. Right. So, the headline I was just quickly running through.
I've done my neck in, so I have to lean back like this. I'm really sorry, but so if I look like I'm not engaged, it's just because my neck's hurting.
What's happened?
I've just been sat at my desk like that all day, and after a certain amount, my neck goes.
Yeah. I seem to get it when I just sleep badly these days, but I think
that doesn't help.
We're all getting older. That's the problem. Definitely. So Coinbase. So basically, this story is Coinbase doing the old adage of throwing the classic story of, Bitcoin is used by terrorists. You know, so again, you know, so Coinbase are arguing overwhelming majority of terror-related funding is still funneled via traditional financial systems. So clearly, Coinbase are countering that narrative. What's your take on it? I know you haven't had a chance to look at the article, but just
well, I haven't read the story, but yeah, traditional finance is certainly the biggest source of terror funded money. I haven't got the recall for the actual numbers, and I haven't looked at them recently, but I think the recent numbers showed, even on a percentage basis, Bitcoin's the percentage basis of Bitcoin transactions that are used for illegal stuff is very low. I imagine on a percentage basis, it's higher for Bitcoin than it is for fiat. But I'm not sure, but certainly in terms of overall quantity, way more fiat gets used to fund terror activities. And then if you include all the you know, fiat money that gets printed to get involved in overseas disputes and so on, and subsidies, and giving this group money, and you know, all the meddling that goes on in overseas politics. When I say overseas, I mean outside of the United States, but funded by the United States. Then fiat is way bigger. And I think one of my politics on this subject is really basic, but weren't a lot of the isn't one of the reasons that Hamas has got so much money is that aid that was sent to somewhere else got redirected and ended up with Hamas? Isn't that right? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I suspect so. Again, like you, you know, I'm sure, like most people, we all live really busy lives, so we have a glimpse of what's happening, and unless we're prepared to dive into the, you know, dig into the weeds, the reality is we're never going to know. But I suspect you're right. Excuse me. I think there's a lot of groups that get funded from various organizations, and you know, it channels in from various sources, doesn't it? So but I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think if you're going to do criminal activity, the worst thing you could do is do it on the blockchain, because
yeah, in a funny kind of way, because of its permanence, you mean?
Yeah, and you can trace it. Whereas cash money,
if somebody wanted to, they could find the weed I bought on the dark net in 2014, and yeah, I could be busted.
Well, so what happened in 2014? I want to hear more.
Well, it wasn't even 2014; it would have been 2013 actually. But when I went on the dark net and bought weed when I was researching my Bitcoin book. So yeah.
Fantastic.
It's all in the book. It's in not that one, that one there.
Brilliant. So when did you first sort of come across Bitcoin? Just sort of divulging slightly from the, you know, diverting from the headlines here, but yeah, when did you first come on your radar?
Oh man, it would have been December 2010. I looked at it the other day. The first email in my inbox was December 2010. It was just one email among so many. I just sort of looked at it and didn't really read it, but
yeah,
it was an email. There was this weird thing that I used to subscribe to, this newsletter about how to live outside the system, called something like Captain's Log, and it was, you know, guide to being a stateless individual. And one of the things he had stumbled across this article about this new currency, and of all places, PC World. It was quite a historic article, but at the time, Bitcoin was 20 cents. I wish I'd, you know, even if I just bought, I mean, every single Bitcoiner you talk to has got the same story, but you know, you just bought 100 quid's worth at 20 cents a coin, you'd be Mr. Gazillionaire now. Every single Bitcoin person you ever meet wishes they'd got into it when they first heard about it, or they'd got into it 6 months or a year or 2 years before they actually did.
And isn't this like a bit of a like you said, it's a repetitive story, but I wonder if it's going to be a repetitive story in another 10, 20 years, because I don't know about you, but it took me a few, and I suspect it's the same with others, and tell me if it was with you, but you got to hear about it a few times before you actually pull the trigger.
Yeah, you got
And
to you listen to podcasts and read articles and get orange pilled. It's a process for sure.
and do you think this exact conversation of, I wish I knew what I knew then is going to be repeatable in 20 years when people look back to now?
You're asking me if Bitcoin's going to go up in the next 20 years as much as it's gone up in the last 10, basically?
Not necessarily the same extent or the same extremity, but as in those same regrets that we go, oh, I heard about it. It was only 30,000. If only I'd known what I know, now. It's because, like you said, a lot of people have these similar conversations, and I know it's such a new young asset, but I just wonder in my mind whether these conversations will continue as we progress through time.
Possibly. It depends how much it goes up.
Of course, yeah.
If it doesn't go anywhere, or it collapses, or the whole system comes apart or something, then there'll be a million people having conversations about how they wish they'd never got involved in it. But
this is the
it's a
same.
more mature asset now.
Mm.
It's not as speculative, and each double is harder than the last. So it's a lot easier for it to go from $1 to $2 than it is for it to go from $20,000 to $40,000 or whatever. Each double is progressively harder because that much more capital needs to enter the market in order for the double to be able to happen. And doubles were possible early on just from private money, but now for doubles and triples to happen, I think institutional money needs to come in really for that to happen. I'm not saying it won't or it can't. I think it's likely to, particularly with these changes in accounting laws that Michael Saylor keeps talking about. If Bitcoin becomes a savings vehicle for institutions and a recognized and a legitimate one, then that changes the goalposts.
100%. Well, this is interesting. So this brings us onto another headline which I've spotted. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink sees global demand and pent-up interest in crypto amid Israeli-Hamas war. So exactly, really, what we were just talking about then, with that potential demand that's going to drive, I guess, adoption, to new heights. As you know, I'm sure BlackRock, they're in the game. What's your sort of take on that headline?
Well, again, I haven't read the article, but they must have their eye on a Bitcoin ETF. BlackRock, aren't they one of the parties that are trying to,
Yeah.
So that'll be a good earner for them. And I'm sort of ambivalent about Bitcoin ETFs because I recognize that it has the potential to bring a lot more capital into Bitcoin, which is good. But it's not the same as Bitcoin. And it's sort of, if you're a purist, you're not going to be pro ETF really, because the point is Bitcoin is an alternate financial system. It's not existing finance, not legacy finance. But yeah, if let's just say you're a refugee now, fleeing from one country to the other. Now, the traditional way that refugees would escape was with gold, and that's hard. You can get mugged. You can get stopped at a border thing. The X-ray machine. I was flying from Germany back to England, and somebody gave me a kilo of copper, and so I just had a kilo of copper, which is like worth maybe £5 or something. But the hassle I had in the airport was carrying a kilo of copper.
And what was the story behind having the copper?
I was just a mining conference, and so somebody had given me a kilo of copper as a sort of thank you for speaking. But a kilo of copper is the people at the security, the customs guy didn't believe that a kilo of copper was only worth £5. I had to get the price up of a kilo of copper on my phone and show him. But yeah, but I mean, you know, I suppose you could carry a few gold coins through with you, but if you're a fleeing refugee, Bitcoin is a very good vehicle.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I
Get your
think
wealth from one place to another.
it's and unlike gold, there's a finite supply, because obviously you can carry on digging up more gold. We don't know
Yeah, it's
obviously
not
how much
easy.
we don't know how much there is, and you need obviously big machines and all the rest of it.
Yeah, that's a lazy argument. I'm not having a go at you, but all Bitcoiners, oh, there's no finite supply of gold. There is. It's not that easy to just go and mine gold. It involves billions of dollars of capital and exploration, and you know, new gold is very much natural money. The new mining supply of gold only increases at the same rate as population growth. So I'm not having
you
that
don't buy
argument.
into that argument so much.
No,
No, that's
no.
fair enough. That's always good to sort of
The sailors are always coming up with that argument.
well, there's one thing that can't be disputed, which you touched on, are those benefits of, you know, it can't be confiscated. It can't be, you know, you can't have, you know, it can't be taken physically from you unless you have a wrench attack.
No, I mean, they could nick your seed phrase or something, but you know, it's harder.
Mm. Mm.
You know, one of my mates has learnt his seed phrase.
Interesting.
He hasn't even got one of those steel things. He's learnt it. And so, but I guess, you know, if I tortured him or, you know, held a knife to his son or something, then I could get his seed phrase out of him.
Well, that's yeah, but I guess ultimately, you know, every type of money asset, there is that opportunity for a thief to take it from you. I guess you need that, and this is where we're fortunate, I guess, in the West, where we have sort of certain legal rights with like land and property rights. You know, it's evidence. You know, there's a document, there are title deeds to prove who owns what. But obviously in third world countries, there isn't such things that are as prevalent. So yeah, but ultimately you're always going to have people, bad actors, and I guess you just got to sort of you know, make precautions and be as careful as you can be. Ultimately with Bitcoin, I guess, cash, gold, or anything, unlike property rights, which, you know, you have a title deeds, it can be, if you're having it in your pocket, if you got your seed phrase in your pocket, if you're carrying, you know, your ledger in your pocket, somebody could rob you. So that's always the danger. But what do you make of the? Have you heard much about the stable coins potentially coming on Bitcoin?
No, I don't know what that is. Sorry.
That's okay.
Tell me the story.
So this is quite a new story. Let me just see if I can find it. Here we go. So this is quite new. So I was listening to a
Oh yeah.
yeah, on X, there was a interesting sort of debate.
How's
with,
Bitcoin gone? Bitcoin's gone up today. I've
Yeah,
not
yeah,
the price. It's flirting with 30,000. That's good.
yeah, it went over 30, and obviously sort of came down a little bit. But it's funny. It really hasn't done anything for a long time, and it keeps, you know, obviously it dropped down to 15, and then sort of come back to these levels. But ultimately, it's been flirting around sort of 27, 28, isn't it, for a little while, and we've just gone up to 30. Yeah, so this basically, we've got a big debate going on within the Bitcoin community of whether this is a good thing or not. Where Lightning Labs, who have the Lightning Network, are building out functionality to create digital assets on Bitcoin. So effectively, you're not having to you know, leave the Bitcoin ecosystem. So let me just read a little bit here. Here we go. So, expecting the greenback to be replaced by Bitcoin, one company is bidding to Bitcoinize the dollar by enabling stable coins and other assets built atop Bitcoin via the Lightning Network. Lightning Labs, one of the main companies working on Bitcoin's layer 2 Lightning Network, released Taproot assets on mainnet Wednesday, allowing for the issuance of stablecoins and other financial assets on the Bitcoin blockchain. According to the press release, the new set of developer tools will allow for Bitcoin to become a multi-asset network, taking the protocol to the next financial level. This means that people all over the world will be able to process the global payments network for the future with just a mobile phone, etc., etc. So it goes on a little bit, and it all sounds very positive on the surface, without a shadow of a doubt. I think it was interesting that one of the chaps was saying the danger for him is, well, why are we risking something that, we do something now and we're potentially risking an unknown uncertainty for the future? He was talking about how the miners and the stablecoin issuer will basically have potentially a lot of power. So if they suddenly decide that they don't like something with the next upgrade, then they have to get all the miners. They'll have all the miners on board because they'll be able to, because of the revenue streams, and they'll be able to some extent dictate the way that Bitcoin evolves and develops in the future. I might have really badly explained that, and I might have got the wrong gist of it, but it was almost like there was a risk of centralizing power within the stablecoin issuer, if that makes sense. So it's a really nuanced sort of argument, and very much sort of digging into the weeds. But I'd love to hear from somebody on both sides of the arguments, to sort of come on the show and debate it and talk about it, so we can really understand it from a layman's terms. Like myself, and to explain it to Joe Public, the audience. But my initial instinct was very much, hang on a second, if Bitcoin is a digital gold, why are we mucking around with it? Why are we trying to sort of make it into something more than it has to be? What's your thoughts, Dominic? Have you got any sort of initial thoughts on this?
I don't. I can't see myself ever using that facility, although that might change in the future. But Bitcoin is it was a technological experiment, and every altcoin is a technological experiment in a way. And so, I support experimentation and investigation, I suppose, in theory. I'm not entirely sure if it's necessary. It doesn't jump out at me like it's absolutely necessary. I have to confess, just since I've been talking to you and I've noticed the Bitcoin price up to 30,000, I've just gone back a little bit and I'm just looking at some old charts, and I really, really like the way the moving averages are lining up in Bitcoin in a way that it's not been like this for a long time. This is really good.
Fantastic.
I'm just changing the subject a little bit on you.
No,
so
that's,
I beg your pardon.
no, that's absolutely fine.
Right.
I mean, if you want, you can share your screen. If you
Hang on a minute. Just let me have a look at this. No, it's not all that. But let's have a look here. Let's go to 2017. Just carry on talking and talk to me.
Yeah.
This.
So it's obviously. I mean, this is
it's really good.
really.
It's really good.
That's
Hang a
positive.
minute.
The thing is, we know
Right.
this is coming. We know this is coming. The
Well,
positivity.
we don't know that it's coming. I
do.
Yeah. So do you how good is your technical analysis?
Dominic, I have a really simple way of investing, and that is to listen to my gut. And I've got, so let me set the stage, I guess, is the easiest thing. Young family, wife, several businesses.
Yeah.
And I've got no interest in looking at charts. I don't have the time or the energy. I don't do short-term trading. I very much listen to my gut instinct, try and learn and listen and have a sense of where I think opportunities lie and take a long-term view on it. And I think that's the way I like to sort of I guess in terms of my investments, just sort of manage things. So for me, again, all these little price changes is just in the small time frames is just it's noise as far as for me personally. So although I take a long-term view, I've slightly changed my sort of philosophy within the Bitcoin ecosystem and the altcoin ecosystem. And I'm looking to be much more active in terms of taking profits and selling and buying within the 4-year cycle periods. So I first got into Bitcoin in 2020. Like you, I first came across it early. I can't remember if it was 20. I think it was 2012 I first came across it. Almost bought some in 2017. Didn't, and it was 2020 when I dived into it. So yeah, so I take a long-term view, but looking to accumulate over not just the 4-year cycle periods and take profits, but accumulate over the longer term periods as well to accumulate more within each sort of cycle. So I very much believe, again, you know, I've got to hedge this risk of those 4-year cycles. And obviously history isn't always not always going to repeat itself, but history does have a habit of rhyming. And
When's the next halvening?
so we're looking at March, April next year.
And when was the last one?
2020 sometime. I can't remember when.
No. It wasn't. How long after that? When was the last Bitcoin halving? Hang on. Bitcoin halving. May 2020. You're kidding.
Isn't that what I said? Did I say
That was the
2020?
low. Yeah, May. You said that. May
2020. Next one's in 2024.
May 2020. So that was right on the low.
So what you'll have?
It came on the. I thought the halvening.
No,
So the bull market follows the halvening.
Well, yes, it does, but it's funny. So if you think about what it's done this year, although the market for most people,
March. Sorry, I'm looking at March. It was May. Yeah, so the halvening, like the low came 2 or 3 months before the halvening.
Yeah.
When was when and the next one is?
They estimate it's based on the blocks, but they estimate it's going to be March,
April. Yeah,
March, April next year. So what? But when you look at Bitcoin as a standalone, it's gone from this year. It's had an unbelievable year, and yet for lots of people, it doesn't feel that good.
Yeah,
So
it's doubled.
Yeah, so it went from yeah, but the whole, you know, it doesn't feel that good for lots of people. I think a lot of people, I think the break-even point for lots of people is around about 27 and a half.
Right.
So I think that's the sort of majority, approximately. But what I tend to see in the patterns and what seems to be happening is, we're probably at the very lowest. I mean, we've missed the low point of Bitcoin. With altcoins, I think this is a cracking opportunity to accumulate. You know, unbelievable. But with Bitcoin, I think you're looking at generally a year after the high point down to the low, about a year. That's probably when it's at its lowest, as optimizing part time to buy or enter. There's going to be a slow run up, to be honest with you, you know, to next year. And I don't think it'll be, I think it will be then a strong 2024 and going into 2025. So I think from the halvening, we'll have about a year to 18 months of a really bullish, really exciting time. I think probably what will happen is about 12 months after the halvening, that'll probably be around about the height of Bitcoin. And about for the next 6 months after that will be the massive run for the altcoins. Probably before it comes crashing and burning again. So obviously the clever thing is to be able to try and so go back to the way I like to invest is just go, right, I'm literally making 2 trades. A buying trade at X point and a sell trade at X point, and it's it's within those sort of time frames. So my trading cycle is about 4 years. So that's the way I'm sort of looking at it now. Well, like I said, whether that continues, we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to have to try and hedge against the risk of it not happening, things like that. So we've gone off sort of a bit topic there, but it was interesting to see your positivity in the charts. And what I was saying was,
I'll tell you why, and then I'm going to have to shoot off fairly soon after that. But when you have, when you've got a proper bull market, you want to see the moving averages aligned in a certain way, and it's called golden alignment. And a moving average just shows. So, for example, the 10-week moving average would show the average price of the last 10 weeks, and so a medium to long-term moving average might be the 1 year moving average, and then you might have the half-year moving average, and then the 55-day moving average, which would be a month and a half, 20-day moving average, and then maybe a 7-day moving average, whatever, it doesn't matter. But you want to see the longer-term moving averages at the bottom, then the medium-term moving averages, and then the short-term moving averages, and then the price, and that would be golden alignment. And often, just before you get into golden alignment, all the moving averages sort of cross over each other and it all gets a bit messy, but they converge. They all get very close together. And then as the bull market goes, you see the price going up and the moving averages gradually expand. And like you've got a real convergence of moving averages between about 26 and 28,000. They've all just suddenly compressed. They're not quite in alignment yet, but the way they've all converged is a really good sign.
That's interesting.
And that makes me quite positive. Although if the halvening is in April, like there was so much hype around the last halvening, and that was in May, and the low came in March. It went back to 3,000. So, maybe with all the hype about the halvening, it'll all come a bit quicker or something. I don't know. But anyway, the moving averages look good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there could be sort of big dips, but I think, possibly just look at that as a buying opportunity. But just to share with you, when I talk about my sort of gut feeling, I'm very much, I don't just take that from nothing. I'm listening to this debate all the time, every single day. And I think what I've noticed very much, and this may coincide with what you're seeing on the charts, is there was a huge amount of negativity for a huge amount of time. But now there's a huge, and I can feel it, and I can sense it, and all the conversations and what people were talking about, and that the positivity is really starting to come back, and very, very, very strongly. And it's really interesting when you just listen to the narrative on social, how that has changed, because we've had 2 years of 18 months of unbelievable negativity, unbelievable. And the narrative is changing, and it's changing fast. And that may be what's happening. It's replicating that in some sort of sense within the charts. I don't know. That's just a thought.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. I haven't got any, I'm not very good on sentiment. I don't consume enough Bitcoin media, but I like the moving averages.
Brilliant. Yeah. Listen, I'll let you go. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much.
It's really good fun talking to you, and sorry it shows short-lived. My neck is absolutely killing me. You can probably tell, but so I'm looking forward to taking the weight off it.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thanks so much, and we'll catch up soon.
Cheers. Talk to you soon. Bye.